Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to do some routine maintenance on my 2022 Ford F-250. That's going to include an oil change, an oil filter, an air filter. We're going to grease the front end. There's only a couple grease points. We're going to do a kind of general inspection of some stuff and rotate the tires. I think that's all we got to do today. So let's get started. We'll jump right into it. So we're going to go ahead and get the oil change out of the way. So we're going to take our fill cap. We're going to pop that off. Get rid of that for now. We're going to check the bottom of the cap to make sure there's no weird debris or coolant or anything else. You're going to go under. You're going to get yourself a 15 millimeter. You're going to find the oil pan right here. You can tell because it's right next to the oil filter. Crack her free. You're going to go ahead and get it almost out. Make sure your pan is in a good spot. Generally speaking, the closer the better, so that you don't fling it all the way past your pan. Okay. We're gonna let that drain. If you wanna take an oil sample, now's the time to do it. I don't in this case. I've taken oil samples before this oil. We're going to clean our plug off. These are non-magnetic plugs, I believe, so you're not gonna really see anything on it unless your engine is in really bad shape, but that's a different problem entirely. Stick that there so we can forget about where it is and look for it for 3 hours. Then, as this drains, we're gonna move. Now you can do this on the ground, so don't worry. It's a little bit more annoying, but you can. We can kind of cheat and move our pan to the edge. And we can start taking our oil filter off. You can also use a second pan. That's probably the smart way to do it, but I'm not very smart. So let's get this oil filter backed off. We're gonna fly that oil filter off. It's gonna wanna drip on you. There you go. Let it do its thing. If you put gloves on, this is a lot less of a messy process. I highly recommend that. Pretty simple stuff here. Whoa, don't do that. Just showing you what not to do. I did that on purpose, yep. While we wait, we can take our FL820S filter and fill it. Let me know in the comments if you like filling your filters or not. That is a hotly debated topic online. I personally do. I feel as though the little extra oil pressure probably isn't a bad thing. People talk about contamination and stuff. I don't know. To each their own, I suppose. We're going to fill it up because that's what I like to do. I don't even go crazy with that. I just like to wet the... Whoops. That was pretty dumb. I'm really screwing up today because it's on video. If it wasn't on video, this would be going perfectly. But anyway, so if you'll notice, this filter is an interesting design. There's actually quite a bit of extra width past the rubber O-ring, which, you know, when you spill oil everywhere, becomes a bit of an issue. But anyway, we're fine. There's a good argument not to fill your oil filter, so fair enough to whoever's saying that I shouldn't have filled it. Anyway, let's go install this now completely covered thing. Okay. Now it's gonna be a little bit tricky because I only got one hand here. We're gonna fish our oil filter back up there. Make sure that the other gasket from the old filter is not stuck on the case of the oil pan. So we're gonna go ahead and screw that on. And then we're gonna have to get this towel down here. Make sure it's tight, don't go crazy. Everyone likes to over tighten their oil filters. You don't need to go crazy with an oil filter. What you're gonna wanna do is get it to touch, so it's touching, okay? And then I'm basically gonna just spin this sticker over to the side. Call it 90-degree turn or so. And trust me, that will be plenty tight. That's probably even too tight. I just like to make sure they don't come off, kind of like everybody else. But you don't gotta freaking put a whole damn turn on this thing with a pair of pliers and all that sort of stuff. Okay, we're gonna let that finish dripping. I don't know if you can see it. And then we'll put our 15 mil drain plug back in. Okay, now that that's done dripping, we'll take our drain plug, screw it back in, and you can find a torque spec for this. I recommend that you probably should, especially if you're new to this. But if you kind of tighten it good and tight, you'll be fine. Just don't go crazy. This is a very long ratchet. For example, this is not the type of ratchet you would want to put a ton of force on this thing with, or you will strip that oil pan pretty darn easy. So be careful. Anyway, that gets the draining part and the filter part done. And now we put 8 quarts of the good stuff in. Whatever 5W30 you choose. I'm using Mobile 1, but that's your call. If you've got an extra bottle, a nice trick is to just fill it to the extra amount that you need, so you don't have to worry about trying to guess. I just went ahead and filled 3 quarts in here, so 5 plus 3, 8, we're good to go. So I can just drain this right out. Doesn't really matter, you just gotta kind of play around with dumping it and checking your level, dumping and checking your level. Just takes longer. And that's it. And don't forget to put your oil cap back on. I almost did, to be honest. You're gonna wanna go to display mode, oil life, and then you're gonna hit OK to reset. I change my oil at about 30 to 40% oil life, which is about 6,000 to 7,000 miles. The manual is 10,000 miles, you know, do what you wanna do there. We're gonna go ahead and start it up. Make sure we see oil pressure quickly. Boom, we got oil pressure, so that's good. And we're all set. We're gonna grease the only 2 grease spots on the entire truck, which is the front U-joints on the front axle. So there's one there, and then there's one on the other side. So we're gonna just grease those 2. Then we'll bring the truck down a little bit, take the tires off and rotate them. So I find there's just about as much debate greasing U-joints and stuff as there is with whether you should fill or not fill your oil filter. But we're gonna do it my way. So I like to wait until I can see grease coming out of each part of the joint. 3 out of 4 right there. Sometimes you can't really get the last one. It is what it is. All right, so that's gonna be good. That's a lot of grease to use, I understand that, but that really makes sure the whole thing's flushed out. And you really wanna go in here and try to clean up the residue the best you can, or you're gonna fling it all around the truck. And after 50 to 100,000 miles, it'll become a mess. It'll be really quite a pain in the butt. So get that cleaned off the best you can. Luckily, these you can just spin because they're not attached because the hubs are unlocked. So you can just kind of get in there and wipe everything out. We'll do the same thing on the other side and then we'll come back to you guys. Now that we're done with the oil change, what we're gonna do next is rotate the tires. So what you wanna do is go backs to front, fronts cross to back. The reason you wanna do that on a 4-wheel drive vehicle is because you'll get better wear out of the tires by crossing over one of the sets per rotation. And you don't wanna cross the backs to the front for one simple reason. You will get a little bit more noise out of the tires when they're spinning backwards from where they were originally mounted. So if you can keep their direction of rotation the same, so i.e. bring this one forward, you'll have a little bit quieter experience because you're physically closer to those front tires. And I know what you're thinking, like there's no way they're loud enough to matter. You'd be surprised. You'll actually notice it for the first 500 to 1,000 miles on your rotation if you do that. So it definitely helps to do so. As you saw in that time lapse, I had to take a hammer and beat these things off. So what you're gonna wanna do is clean off the corrosion here. These are hub-centric wheels, and they like to get locked onto the hub. So you wanna clean it off on both sides. Don't sand it, because then you'll lose that hub centricity. Just take some Scotch-Brite or something, scuff that off. Anti-seize this surface really good, and then you should be in better shape than I was. I've also got some noise that I want to investigate. I think it's something inside the drum. So you can see the clip that holds in the brake drum for the parking brake broke off for whatever reason. So that's why we have that grinding noise. It pays to look at things like this. So I was actually able to find some in our spare parts drawer. Let me get in the light for you. So it's 2 different style retainers and then 2 different style length pins. Just dropped one. But hopefully, some combination of this will work. So that will work. Doesn't look as pretty as the stock, but it won't hit anything. It's not gonna damage anything. There's plenty of room in the drum for it, so we're good. That should solve the problem. Just be warned, these wheels and tires are pretty darn heavy, so if you got a bad back or something, have somebody help you with it. Now that we've got all the tires back on, we gotta lower it down so we can torque the wheels, and then we'll be done with this part. We will now torque all the wheels all the lug nuts I should say, to 150 foot-pounds. That is the spec for my vehicle. You obviously want to go in a star pattern. Try not to miss any. Oh, I already messed it up. That's okay. Not a big deal. Okay, so what we'll do, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, back to the first one. So I like to do my star pattern and I like to go back in a circle just to be extra sure. You don't want a wheel flying off while you're driving. That's for dang sure. We'll finish the rest of these up and we'll get back to you guys. Actually gotta pop our hubcaps back on as well. Can't really do this one-handed. There's really no better way to do it as far as I know. You gotta just kind of slam them on there. It's doesn't really feel the best, to be honest. You feel like you're gonna break your truck, break your hubcaps, but if you got a better way to do it, let me know in the comments. Now we're gonna real quick change the air cleaner. To do that, you're gonna pull these 2 black tabs here. That's gonna release the front. There's a tab right here. Pull that one. And then there's 2 slots that it sits in. So you're gonna pull up and out, or out and up, I should say. And that'll let this arm come off. And then you can just kind of hold this here. Give it a little bit of a blow. Take your filter out. You can just kind of squeak it out of there. It's a little bit of a pain, but you can get it out without having to remove a bunch of stuff. Sneak your filter out. Mine is dirty, but not crazy. But they're cheap enough and it's been in there a while, so we're gonna replace it. Chuck that to the side. Get you a nice new filter. You can go with your K&N or whatever if you want. I just stuck with the stock one because I'm kind of tired of cleaning K&N filters when they get dirty. I'd rather just replace the dang thing. So that's where I'm at in life. You can choose accordingly. So a little bit of finesse. You can kind of get that filter into position. Gotta kick the bottom in. Then the top goes in, you're good to go. All right. Took me a little bit of a try there. I haven't done this filter yet. And that goes there. Pop it in here, right? Hold on. Come on, baby. There we go. 1, 2, 3. Good to go. And just like that, that's gonna wrap this up. We got our oil filled back up. We got our air filter cleaned. We got our tires rotated. We got our grease joints, U-joints greased. Everything else is good. So with that, as always, thanks for watching. God bless America, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.